Marty Mitchell awoke and pulled himself up to peek over the ancient slab of granite that had concealed him all afternoon. Strange he'd slept so long. A glance at his watch told him it was 5:30. To his relief, the gaggle of climbers who'd been milling around celebrating their summit had long since moved on. Now there was no one left on the 14,000-foot plateau to wonder why he hadn't departed. He'd be gone soon enough anyway. Marty filled his lungs with the crisp, rarefied air as he took in the cobalt-blue sky overhead and the gentle breeze. For his last afternoon on the planet, the conditions couldn't be better. In a weird way, this place felt like a launching pad, his own Kennedy Space Center from which to soar safely home. His eyes instinctively tracked an inbound jetliner descending toward Denver International, 55 miles distant, and the mere sight roiled his stomach. It was a 757, the same model he'd been flying last January when his world imploded. Marty struggled to ignore the Boeing and ditched the negative thoughts as he looked east, focusing on the edge of the boulder-strewn plateau where the path back down the mountain began, the so-called keyhole route. He assumed that all the other climbers had heeded the park ranger's warnings about getting off the summit of Long's Peak by 1 o'clock. Even experienced climbers were eager to pick their way down the steep rock face along the trough before any freak afternoon thunderstorms had a chance to pop up out of nowhere, lightning-charged storms which too often flailed the rocks with 60-knot winds and stinging rain, raising the stakes by making each footfall exponentially more slippery and treacherous. Beyond that, a mile distant, there was a narrow, challenging trail laterally along the southern rock face, which climbers had to traverse to get back to the keyhole, which was a jagged and natural passageway leading back to the north side of Long's Peak. The dangers along that backside path were very real. A major stumble could mean a 1,700-foot plunge down the mountain, and, truth be told, he'd originally considered that as an option. But this is better, he thought. Much more elegant to go out on top, and, he thought with a rueful chuckle, a rather classy way to get the last word without fear of contradiction. The morality of his fury had already been decided. If by some galactic miracle he could teleport the Denver district attorney to the rock next to him, Marty would have had absolutely no hesitation and even less remorse about tossing Richardson off the edge of the vertical east face of the mountain. The sound of the shyster's body splatting on the granite below would be the equivalent of a symphonic masterpiece. I'm entitled to a few impossible daydreams, he thought. I'm alone and doomed, but in complete control. But the word control triggered an icy flash through his bloodstream and a feeling of loathing. He'd never lost control of himself or control of his aircraft, and for that very reason Richardson wanted him in an orange jumpsuit and caged like an animal for doing his job.